So today is November 6, 2024. This is the day that the Arcane map released on the ARAM instead of Howling Abyss. So this might be updated, outdated, whatever word you want to use, because Riot might have changed the game modes. But I realized that this map is incredibly unbalanced. Buffs aside, just the map alone is very unfair, in my opinion, for the Piltover side. If you don't understand what I mean by the Piltover side, if you actually add a line halfway between the map, right here, you'll realize that this side, let me make this a bit bigger. This side over here is Piltover, okay, and then this side over here is Zaun. You can tell by just the way it's designed and things like that, and things are a little different lore-wise. And you get different buffs if you're on the Piltover side compared to the Zaun side. So buffs aside, there is a big flaw with the map and how it's balanced. So let's talk about bushes, right? Bushes slash the smoke grates, whatever you want to call them. Make this slightly smaller. So you can see the smoke slash bushes of where they are. There's a bush here, there's a bush here, there's a bush here, bush here, there's a bush here. Okay? Those bushes are all completely fair and balanced. But here's one massive problem that I don't understand why it exists. There's a bush right there, and there's a bush right here, but it's in an L shape. So you go in an L shape like this, that is the bush. That is what the bush looks like. But on this side, you literally only have this bush here. There's no L shape here. It's just this one singular bush. On top of this, you have a bush here and a bush here. The other side has no other bushes. So in total on this side, the Zaun side, you have 1, 2, 3 additional bushes that, if you count this shape here as one bush, you have 3 additional bushes that the other side doesn't have. Well, what does the other side have? Well, they have walls. I know, crazy. So they have a wall right here, and then a wall, which is right here, but, you know, I drew over with my bush here, but is a wall right there. Now, the thing is about the walls is that the walls are dependent on who you're playing. In fact, I would actually say that the walls are better on your side. If someone tower dives you and you have an enemy champion right here tower diving you, they need to go around the wall and then try and escape that way. So I think the walls actually benefit. If you're playing a champion like Zeri, where your W gets extended using the wall, then that is really good because then you get more range. And then you also have walls over here. Now, why are the bushes a big deal on the Zaun side of the map? Well, the reason why they are a big deal is because if a champion decides to do something cheesy, they can actually enter through this bush right here and then lose tower aggro. This tower will not take aggro if someone enters this bush as long as they're not attacking inside of it, meaning that someone can easily sneak past and go into your base and proxy farm. Now, this would be fair if there was an L-shaped thing here. However, there isn't. If the Zaun side decides to invade / try to proxy farm, they're going to get attacked by this tower because there's no L-shaped bush here. Okay, on top of this, there's another big issue, and that is that you can be hiding in this area, you can be hiding in this area, and you can be hiding in this area. Meaning that if you're trying to do something cheesy, or maybe playing Pantheon and you're trying to ult from this point over here, you could proxy farm. And the big issue is that players on the Zaun side will then take this area, take the portal, and then travel all the way over here, which means that they're just going to go right past you and not know of your existence. You cannot play in any of these spots on the normal Howling Abyss map simply because there's no bushes here. There's nothing there to hide in. People would immediately see you and skip the portal, which means that if you're on this side of the map, you either need to walk over and check every single bush to make sure no one's cheesing anything, or you take a risk and go through the portal, and then you're just going to proxy farm. But the truth is that if you manage to check every single bush, what happens is that the other side will be able to just continue pushing because you're so focused on making sure no one's proxy farming you that they will continue pushing. This is a huge deal. And there's also a small generation, that's not the right word. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm exhausted. Right here, there's a hiding spot. Right in this little statue, which makes it impossible to see you. Which, again, if people do their normal habit of taking the portal, they're going to go right past you. And then proxy farm. What's the big deal about proxy farming? Well, there's a lot of champions that can proxy farm. And on top of this, with how you can get special buffs, such as elixirs if you gain something, or maybe you'll get this 15-second cooldown power up, which we're not even talking about power ups, but with the combination of power ups plus proxy farming, you can make Zon basically useless. The reason why this side is so much worse is because you can screw over so much more. Meanwhile, you have these walls here, right? But the thing about the walls, like I said, is it's subjective to which champion you're playing. Honestly, I think the walls are nice. If they tower dive me, but there's a wall blocking them, then guess what? They're probably going to take an extra tower shot trying to go around the wall. So I think the walls actually are a bonus if you're on the one side. So I 100% believe that the Zon side, aka this side of the map, is awful. Absolutely unfair. And then you also have the buffs, which is a whole nother can of worms that it is very subjective. But I think that the buffs it would make the game way, way, way too snowbally. And the reason why is like imagine this, okay? One of the buffs for the Chemtech side is that it reduces your cooldowns, it resets it every 15 seconds. Imagine you're playing someone like Aurelian Soul, where his E lays down this basically opens up this I don't know, black hole, whatever it is, and then holds the minion in place. That lasts 5 seconds. So if you were to place it and then immediately get the reset, you can essentially hold a minion wave in the same spot for 10 seconds. And then you have Rylai's, you just queue a wave, you make it impossible for the other team to push with certain champions. Or maybe you're playing Zoe. Imagine sleeping someone twice in a row and then landing a Battle Star. It's just crazy, these buffs. And the problem is once your inhib is down, then you're completely screwed. And on top of this, if you're the Chemtech side and then you take inhib first, then you just stomp over the game. You can hide in so many bushes without any type of any counterplay, and they need to check the bush no matter what. So I'm not going to dive too deep into the power-ups. I think the power-up system is very, very poor and very unfair, and I don't like it at all. I understand that this game mode is supposed to be fun, but I think that in terms of it being balanced, that's also relatively fun. I don't think someone getting a free buff for dominating a game, especially whenever I think the Zon side is completely worse, is healthy for the game. On top of this, I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing, but then you have this little, I guess I'll call it lane here. So this portion here. The one problem that I have with this portion here, that is way too thick. Right there. The problem that I have with this little lane here is that the fog of war is really hard to see. Someone can just be traveling back and forth between the fog of war and bushes, constantly going back and forth, dodging people's enemies' sight. So I think that they need to also make it where you can see a bit more. I don't know how they program that, but the fog of war I think is a big, big problem and makes it really hard to engage, and you just zone off people so hard. And the last thing that I think is a big issue, I don't know what color to use, we'll use purple, is you can go right on the edge here of the turrets and get a really weird angle that you're not used to attacking people. And this is common on both sides, so this isn't unbalanced, but it's still kind of an unexpected and weird thing that I'm not used to and that I'm not really a big fan of. So that's the problem, is that you can hide in these corners and poke at really, really weird angles and really zone someone off. I think the problem is that it just is way too snowbally, especially on the Chemtech side, and I don't think it's fair and balanced at all. Again, I don't believe Riot is making this ARAM map to be fair and balanced. It's not trying to be competitive. However, I feel like it's so unbelievably unbalanced that it's unfun. It's not fun. Every game I've played has been about less than 20 minutes, and it's because it's just such a stomp. So for these reasons, I think that the ARAM current map is very bad. My advice to fix it, if Riot is listening, highly doubt it, but if they are, get rid of these bushes, or grates, whatever, get rid of these. Either implement walls like you did over here at the same angle, make it fair and even, or get rid of the walls, but definitely do not keep those smoke rates there. That smoke rate is incredibly, I don't understand why they would do that. I genuinely don't know. I think I would increase the fog of war here, where you can see it a bit more and people can't really zone you off as hard and you being as scared. And I think those are the only things that I would say really change. And maybe, I don't know how strong the buffs actually are, but I think it's very champion dependent. And I just feel like certain champions that can really hold waves, or like a Malzahar that can just push waves essentially with very little counterplay, I guess. I think they really need to fix it and rethink the buffs. I especially think the Chemtech side is, sorry, the Zon side is really bad. So that is why I don't think that the map is very good right now. It's mainly because of the balance.